As always, whenever I do these segments, I want to highlight the Snake ID website that we have found at kysnakes.uky.edu. And so let's move into here, our picture. An interesting one, a little bit going on here. If you can't tell, it's actually this snake is in the act of trying to consume its lunch, where we have a snake trying to eat a toad. And it is a very common dietary item for this species. So let's go ahead and move through and how we would ID this snake and figure out if it's a species of concern to us or one that may actually want to just keep around the house, right, or in your property. Well, first and foremost, one of the best things we can do is try to look at the head. And unfortunately, in this situation, it's not that great of an image of the head. One, because it is currently wide open and trying to hold on to its lunch, but it's also got some leaves on over top of it, so it's blocking both the head shape and a clear look at the pupils on the snake. So we're going to have to go to the next step here and start looking at some other description items we can use on the snake's body, right? So we'll move to pattern. And this snake does have a pretty active pattern, right? We've got a lot of black, yellows, and greens going on here in a very checkery manner. So what we can really tell is the snake has a moderate shape in terms of body. It's not super fat, although it probably will be if it successfully consumes this toad. But in terms of body shape for Snake ID, it's a moderate body. It's not super thin and long. It's not super fat and short. But it is a moderate size, and you can tell by the size of the acorn next to it there that this is not a huge snake. It's probably about between a foot and foot and a half in size, maybe a little bit longer. So we take those and we can start looking at what's available in terms of species that have similar patterns and also similar head shapes. And this one kind of stands out. Now, this is actually a diamondback water snake found only in Western Kentucky. That is not where this snake was submitted from. This snake was submitted from Central Kentucky. So this is not a possibility based on geographic region. Now, the next one that has a pretty similar bright pattern and has a little bit more variation in the pattern is actually almost entirely a toad eater. And that is our eastern hognose here. However, its pattern is slightly different. It doesn't have the checkering as much as it does banding. So this one is not the culprit per se. But if we keep moving down the list, we do get to the actual answer, which is our common garter snake. As you can see, these guys have that checkery pattern to them, head shape line, size is aligned. There is a little bit of variation in the amount of color in terms of dark to light. We see some that are incredibly light, like this example here, where we get into some darker greens, a little bit more black, and that checkering is a little broader into some other individuals. And there's no locality it goes along with it. I've caught some in my yard that look like this and some that look a lot darker. So it's a little bit of a varying species in terms of their appearance, but one that is completely harmless, does eat a lot of toads, earthworms, and other small prey items, including a lot of insects, and one that does no harm in having around your house or on your property, and it can only do anything but benefit your ecosystem. Unfortunately, they do tend to appear in places like gardens and surprise folks around houses as well. Relatively harmless in terms of, they can bite you and will bite and strike at you to try to defend themselves. There is no venom. They aren't big enough to break the skin. Their biggest defense mechanism is to actually poop on you, and it smells pretty bad. But one that we do want to make sure we try to keep out in the ecosystem if at all possible. As always, you want to make sure that if you do come across a snake, you identify what snake species you're dealing with. Remember that our venomous species in Kentucky have those cat-like vertical eyes, pits, as well as either rattles for our rattlesnake species, or we have the copperhead, which has a Hershey kiss-like pattern to it, or cottonmouth in Western Kentucky, which are found mainly around water bodies like swamps and rivers and ponds and lakes. Try to reduce snakes on your property or in a given area. You can reduce the shrubby areas around your house or garden. Keep your grass mowed short. Keep your landscaping where there's not a lot of cover on the ground. One, it doesn't attract the prey that most likely the snakes are coming near your house to look for, as well as it doesn't provide them a lot of cover from their own predators like hawks and owls and other birds. So you do those things, and you won't hopefully be startled by any when you see them around your house. And also you will hopefully still maintain those great positive benefits that they provide the ecosystem where you're located. And as always, I'm going to remind you that we have the UK Snake website as a great resource for IDing your species, or just wanting to learn a little bit more about what's some of the 32 species we have in the state.